Warning: the following podcast show that you're about to listen to will include explicit language and content in which you, the members of the audience, may find offensive. Audience discretion is advised.
Welcome to another episode of the Kim Hoang Podcast Experience.
Yeah, boy.
Where anything and everything is a subject matter on the show, and no subject matter is ever taboo.
Damn, that's what's up with you.
And now, your host with the most, Mr. Kim Hoang. Bro, am I getting paid for this?
Hey, what's going on, everybody? How in the world are you? This is your boy, Kim Hoang, the Asian sensation, creating a great set of new content for the new season. And guess what? It is a new season of the Kim Hoang Podcast Experience, number 4. I know what you're saying. Why don't you just go ahead and say it in Spanish? Well, let's see. Uno, dos, tres, cuatro. So, numero cuatro season. Yeah, I mean, I'm not really a linguist, man. Come on now. Like, I took Spanish back in high school, and I did all right. I got good grades on it. I should have stuck with it, but that's besides the point. Anyways, we're recording, as usual, over in Wheaton, Maryland, over at the Prototype Studio, where it's our official home of the Kim Hoang Podcast Experience. And it's amazing. It's amazing to be here and so forth. It's great to be here in the booth, with the microphone right next to me and just spitting out new content. And I was really on the fence about this one in terms of opening up this new episode of this brand new season by talking about season 4 and, and other stuff behind season 4 and, how we got here to season 4. But I think it's fair that we should go ahead and do that. I mean, it's not against the rules. And also at the same time, it's one of those things where, once again, if it's my show and my format, anything and everything goes. I might have talked about it previously, and sometimes we have to go back to it. And in this case, I know I probably talked about it in parts, but I never really talked about it as a full-fledged subject matter in one episode in a season of the Kim Hoang Podcast Experience. So, that being said, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it right now. Season 4 is upon us right now. It's happening at this very moment as we speak. And, for me being a content creator, me being somebody that is of a creative person that has a creative medium, I would have never thought that the guy that started this particular podcast back in 2021 and now, in a new year of 2025, I would have never thought in my wildest dreams that this would be happening. Some people I've noticed, there are some people, not all, I have to state for the record, not all people go ahead and do a thing where it's like, hey, I'm going to start a podcast, and then they last for so long that they have longevity. There are some people that have quit after maybe 2 seasons. You know what I mean? Or maybe even 1. For whatever reason. And the fact that, we are doing it right now again with the 4th season is incredible. And I really think that just represents the fact that, like the martial arts, I have that strong warrior spirit. I have that warrior spirit knowing that I want to do this and I want to do that in my podcast. I really want to make myself known in the podcasting industry. I want to keep creating content for you guys because, number one, I feel like as a person of creativity, it really stimulates my mind and it helps with my mental stress. Because when you're a creative person, you focus so much on that, putting emphasis in something positive, that it just kind of oversees the negative and kicks it to the curb, which I feel like that's awesome. You know, anybody that has a creative medium, whether if you're a painter or if you're a sculptor or if you do photography, if you're, you know, in the culinary arts and you're being a chef, if you're a musician, you know, if you are a podcaster, if you're an actor, if you're a writer, a director, whatever art that it is that, you know, requires imagination and creativity, you know, you do that. And I think that it's great that you do that, and it probably helps out with, like, you know, trying to, you know, take that negativity away in terms of mental health. And that's what podcasting does for me, and I think that's why I would probably say that it's been one of the main ingredients of why I stuck with podcasting for so long. That, and I think, in my opinion, and again, I'm only saying my opinion, I feel like, you know, somewhere down the line, there's got to be someone out there in the world, you know, whether if they're from a major city or just a small town, whether if they're in the United States, whether they're Canada, Brazil, Puerto Rico, Europe, you know, doesn't matter. Maybe somebody out there is listening to this and they're taking inspiration by it. Maybe they are appreciating the fact that, wow, this guy sounds very positive, and I like the tone of his voice because it's very comfortable to me. Well, yeah, absolutely. You know, I've always said that this podcast is not only my podcast, but it's yours as well. And I want to keep on doing that going forward for the more seasons to come. And season 4 is no different. The previous seasons we did pretty well. Maybe 2 out of the 3 seasons we did pretty well. The opening season, we had no idea what we were getting into. We were green as grass, but we were determined to succeed. And 42 episodes later, after 1 season, I felt like it was a success. I don't know what anybody else would think of, but I thought it was a success. Going into season 2, I was a little bit more cocky. You know, I had like a bit of arrogance on me. But that was the worst season, in my opinion, because that was the season that I had a creator's block. It's like writer's block, you know. You try to be creative and you can't do it. When you put it from, you know, mind to pen and then you try to put it to paper, sometimes I would have some ideas and it wouldn't work and I just scratch it off, or I have nothing at all. And that was scary. I didn't think for a moment. I was like, man, you know, am I going to, you know, actually get through season 2? Because it's just crazy the fact that, you know, this opening season of season 1, I was doing it like gangbusters. It was incredible. And now I'm with season 2 and it's like nothing is flipping happening. But I got through it. Season 2, another season later, and probably at the same time, it was like a year and a half. I was like, oh, crap. This is not what I expected, but I mean, it is what it is, right? It is what it is. We happen to finish off with 35 episodes on season 2, with a span of a month, 1 year and 6 months later. Not good. Last season, on season 3, probably was the best season that we ever had. I think we broke down a lot of barriers, and we made about 47 episodes. 3 of them we took it worldwide by interviewing 3 beautiful TikTok personalities from Brazil. A celebrity movie star that's also an author that starred in the 1984 film The Karate Kid, Mr. Daryl Vidal. And I felt like if it wasn't for that particular moment, I don't think that I would have the confidence to even go for a season 4. And now that we're in season 4, I really feel like it's about time that we really raise the bar a little bit. I'm really happy for everything from last year that I did. I want to try to implement it this year and this season. Like, I definitely want to implement more of my episode minis that I did last season. I think that was really incredible, and I think that was a real good idea because it gives you guys more of an option to listen to our podcast. For those that may not like full-length episodes and may not have the patience for it, and you have to, listen to it in sections. Hey, I get it. There are some podcasts out there that are super long that I'm like, man, I wish they did like a part 1 and a part 2. That would have been more interesting. So I might do that for sure. Episode minis, definitely. Definitely it's on the menu. I definitely do want to do have more guests, whether they want to be a special guest or a special guest host, because I feel like talking to another person really makes it more fun, and the concentration is more on that person rather than me, and I'm okay with that. And why not? Because I think in a podcast you want to have the focus and the emphasis on the person that is there with you. Like, example, if I actually interviewed a person who's a martial artist but it's also a stunt person, I want the focus to be on them rather than me, because they have a story to tell. And I'm ready to do that. Like, I really want to start talking to people. I really want to see what's going on in the world and see how this works. And hopefully we can do that. Hopefully we can do that and we can make it happen, and it would be wonderful. It would be absolutely wonderful. I'm excited. And I want to do so much more this season. I really have high hopes. I don't want to say that I'm going to beat 47 episodes or I'm going to do that, because I feel like creativity in that sense shouldn't be measured by the quantity of, how many that you do. I mean, it's a fun statistic, but at the end of the day, you do want quality over quantity. And I think that it's fair to say that I will make quality episodes going on to this season. And I hope that you guys will be with me every step of the way. Giving out your love and support that you have been doing, from day 1 until now. I hope that will be continuous and infinite. I hope that, I find the right people to have as my guests so that we can actually talk about, things that they do, or just talk about life. I think it's incredible. And, I just want to be a good person that makes great content that people will enjoy, so that also those same individuals could probably spread the word out to their friends and their coworkers and their relatives, giving us a good word, a good reputation. Because when you have awesome street cred, and your reputation is, in good standings, it shows. And we really want to establish that. We really want to start building that up from the ground up. But, yeah, that's all I have to say. Season 4, we're here. It's going to be amazing. I look forward to this season. And, we're gonna do the best that we can for you, because, as always, you guys deserve the best. And if I'm not giving you my best, it's probably not good. So, let's start on a good note. Let's start on a positive note. Let's start on that note that says, hey, we're really going to kick butt and take names, because, this is a good podcast show that has a lot of potential and a lot of clout. And we need to do this all the way. All the way. And I wouldn't have it any other way. So let's go ahead and take a little bit of a break. We're going to go on to intermission. When we come back, we're going to come back with the second segment and start talking about some stuff. You may want to stick around with that. So go ahead and take a break. Do what you got to do. Go to the restroom, answer a text, or get a phone call in, or get something to eat or drink. Because the Kim Hoang Podcast Experience, the first episode of Season 4, will be coming right back. I guarantee it.
I want to tell you about an amazing store that's really good for all musicians, music enthusiasts, and a whole lot more, which is Chuck Levin's Washington Music Center in Wheaton, Maryland. That's right, you heard it correctly. Since 1958, Chuck Levin's has been actually tearing up the game when it comes to the music scene. And guess what? Since 1958, they have been the store to go to and a must-visit destination for any serious musician passing through our nation's capital. So, if you're actually a person that's in a band looking for a new instrument, such as an electric guitar, an acoustic guitar, a bass guitar, or maybe some drums, if you're a DJ looking for like the greatest DJ equipment, such as turntables and so forth, they got you. Hey, are you actually in an orchestra playing a woodwind instrument, brass instrument, or strings? They got you. They got all the classical instruments that you need. And let's not forget, for all my fellow podcasters, need a microphone? They got you. Need a podcasting vocal track recorder? They got you. They got everything, man. And I'm telling you, it's the best place to go. So if you want to check them out, go ahead and do so, because right here at Chuck Levin's, they're the best. Forget the rest. Mess with the best. Located over at 11151 Veers Mill Road in Wheaton, Maryland. They're open Monday through Saturdays, 10 a.m. until 6 p.m. If you want to know more about what they have to offer, you can go over to chucklevins.com online or give them a buzz at area code 301-946-8808. Chuck Levin's Washington Music Center. Like I said before, don't worry about the rest. Mess with the best.
And now, back to the Kim Hoang Podcast Experience with your host, Kim Hoang.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. What's going on? Welcome back to the Kim Hoang Podcast Experience. Before I go into the second segment, I have to talk about something here real quick. Recently, I've been on a kick, a health kick. And I've always been like the type of person that if I can find ways to help reverse the aging process or, reverse the bad things that I've done in my body, because, it's not the greatest of health, I'll definitely do that. And by that, if there's like a vitamin out there that's out in the market, I'll definitely try it out. And if there's something that claims it's good, I definitely will try it out. Well, recently I am trying right now this thing that I've been on for a little bit. A thing called Total Beats by Force Factor. And the flavor of it, yes, it is made from organic beetroot powder, but it has like a pomegranate berry kind of flavor. And it says that it supports healthy blood pressure, blood flow, nitric oxide, energy, and heart health. And being that a person that has, CHF, I thought to myself, man, this might be a good thing. It might promote like good heart health, and it might give me like real good cardio, and I feel like, why not? So I'm trying it, and it's not, I'm going to say this, I don't think it's bad. I don't think, I think the concept's good. I think that, what it's trying to do to help improve the quality of life for people that are trying to improve in these certain areas, I think it's great. However, I have two cons, if I can talk about it real quick. One, is that, it's very gritty. Even no matter how many times I just put it in like a little container of water, and then, put the scoop of the total beet powder inside of it, and then I shake, and I try to shake it so much that, it tries to disappear in the water. There's always going to be a little bit of some grit. So I'm not really a big fan of that grit. You know what I mean? I think it's awful. I think it's terrible. It's just terrible. Ooh, just even thinking about it. The second con is that the flavor, I feel like, and maybe it's just me, maybe I'm being very dramatic, from the makers of Karen comes Kevin, maybe I'm being like Kevin, is that, I think that there's not enough pomegranate berry flavor that's coming through. I mean, yeah, it says total beets, and the majority of the taste is more beet. But I was just hoping, that I would have, if not an even ratio of beet flavor versus pomegranate berry, that the pomegranate berry would take over, and that would be good for me. But, I mean, who am I to judge? You know what I mean? I think that for some people, it probably, the taste is not that good. For others, it's great. And for other people, it's an acquired taste and so forth. So, but hey, anything that you can do to, improve your quality of life, if it's out there, selling out on their products on Amazon Prime or Walmart, it can't be 100% bad. It's definitely worth the risk of trying it, right? At least in my opinion. So now we're going to jump into the second segment. And I want to talk about a phrase that I've learned throughout the years, and I even said myself, where it's just like riding a bicycle. Meaning that it's easy, and it's one of those things where, let's say, for example, certain people, you may not know how to do a certain activity, but you pick it up pretty quickly. And so for some people, they would say, it's maybe it's natural. You were born with that ability. And some people might say, hey, it's just as easy as, it's just as easy like riding a bicycle. You know what I mean? Just like riding a bicycle. It's that easy. Some people might try their knack in, cooking. And they understand the mission and the situation. And it starts to come together through what they do. At that point, a lot of people with their, with cooking, it's a challenging process, and some people will be like, wow, that's just amazing that you were doing that. I can't even do that. Dude, it's just like riding a bicycle. It's that easy. I mean, it's really the most thing that we can do. It's that good. Recently, I wanted to talk about something that I had that type of moment recently. Before the year went out, I worked a Pepsi promotion over for the Washington Commanders game of the NFL in Landover, Maryland. So that's not far from Washington, D.C. And it was over at the Northwest Stadium, formerly known as the FedEx Field. And it was cool, I had my reservations about it because the guy that called me up, I know this guy, his name is Chester, a real good guy. I knew him through many, throughout the years of working many promotion events and so forth. And he's done very well for himself. The brother's doing very good. So he calls me up, or basically he got me on a text or like a private message online using Messenger, and said, hey, what's going on, man? I'm just checking on you first off to see how you doing. And I said, I'm doing good, man. It's been a while. I see that you're doing great things, and I'm very happy for you. Congratulations. And then he told me that, Pepsi was going to be in town doing a little bit of a promotion. They were needing some help, some last minute help, to help out a little bit with the promotion, but mainly to go ahead and help strike everything down. You know what I mean? And I thought to myself, wow, I would love to do it. The only thing is, like, it's been a while because I've been out of the game for so long. Like, it's kind of weird. It's a little bit foreign. Like, the last time I probably worked something promo wise was 2 years prior, I think. I think that was yeah, I think so. So, he reassured me. He was like, man, you're going to be fine. You've done this before. It's not your first rodeo. Just do your very best, and you're going to be good. I don't see anything wrong with it. And it'll come back to you. It's just like it's just like a walk in the park for anybody, man. You'll be all right. And I said, are you sure? And like he said. And even with this quote that I said, he said, bro, it's just like riding a bicycle. It's that easy. So I said, sure, why not? I was, I at that point, I just felt like, I needed to make some money. It was some quick money. It was not bad money for, like, working 4 hours. So I was like, I got nothing, I would say that, I got nothing to lose here. I was okay with it, so let's go. Get over there. The first thing that they were shocked about was the fact that I got there early. I was supposed to be there at 1:30. I got there at like maybe 12:15. They were like, yo, what are you doing here? And I said, yeah, I got referred by Chester to work this event. My hours are, 1:30 until, I believe 5:30. And yeah, I'm here. I just didn't want to be late. And they appreciated that. They were like, yo, well, that's cool. You can just help out for a little bit. That's cool. And, do things here and there, but when it's time to kind of leave, this thing, once it's done, we have to start breaking down right away. And I said, cool. So it came to that time. 1 o'clock hit, 1:30 hit, and it was time to break down. And I noticed a couple of what I would say newer brand ambassadors, who are like the representatives of the whole promotion, giving out prizes, or they were giving out food samples or drink samples and whatnot. So I noticed them, and they looked lost. They really looked lost. It was like, it looked like they'd never really seen this type of stuff before, you know what I mean? And I felt really weird. And I went over to them and I was like, hey, what's the problem? Well, we don't know what's going on and how to do this. We don't know what's happening. And I think that with the years of experience in this field, I felt like it kicked in. And when they saw what I was doing and was following my lead, one of them was like, man, you probably have done this before. And I said, yeah, it's not my first rodeo. And they were like, wow, that's crazy. How do you know how to do all this? I was like, when you work this industry as long as I have, you pick up a lot of things. There's some things that that you learn here and there. So, but yeah, I mean, once you do that and it comes consistent, then it's just like riding a bicycle. You're good to go. You're good to go. it was one of those things where I was just glad to do what I was doing. It was awesome. I loved it. And they could tell, they know that with my experience, it was one of those moments where they were just, man, I can't believe that. Yeah, well, believe it. It's that serious. And I felt good afterwards. After the whole thing was over, after we struck down everything and loaded it up, I really felt a sense of good accomplishment. And I just knew that I hadn't lost it. It's just like riding a bicycle. Same thing for people like, hey, if you were a person that studied Japanese Shotokan karate, you've been studying it for about, let's say, 10 years. You got a black belt in that art. Then you quit. Then you decide you want to come back. And you retrain. And you pick it up a little bit better now than you did previously. Now, why? Probably because of the experience. And when you have that experience and that muscle memory, it comes back. And when it comes back like that, very naturally, it's just like riding a bicycle. It's that easy. Another great example, say that you were in the job field and you were a foreman of a construction company and you worked it for about 15 years and you took a break. You decided to take off for about 2 or 3 years because you wanted to try something new. Being a foreman, that means you're being a leader. You know what I mean? So being a leader, no matter what field it is, it's very international. So let's say you decide that you go ahead and you do another type of job. And everything that you've done previously in your being a foreman in a construction company, you realize that you're now put in a similar type of leadership position. And it just comes naturally to you. And people see that. They're just like, oh, wow, have you worked this type of industry before? No, but I mean, leadership is leadership. And I had to get the emphasis of what I did previously into this. And to me, I feel like that's an easy transition, just like riding a bicycle. So I hope that, you guys in life will have a moment where it's just like riding a bicycle. Super easy, Why make it hard for ourselves when we can make it easy? And so easy that it's just like riding a bicycle. That's words to think about. We're going to go ahead and take a little bit of a break. We're going to come back. When we do come back, the greatest segment of them all, the Q&A session, the Q&A forum, question and answer. You ask those questions, I'm going to answer it. And it's going to be fun. I'm excited. So go ahead and do what you need to do. Take a break. Drink that water. Go to the restroom or just, get something to eat. You know the deal. But come back. Because the Kim Hoang Podcast Experience is coming back in full force and red hot. Better believe it, kid. I'll talk to you in a bit. We'll see you.
In life, we all want to have great health and excellent physical fitness. However, it's never given, only earned. That said, if you want to go to a gym that will help you to get there, then look no further than Kicked Up Fitness at National Business Parkway in Annapolis Junction, Maryland. Their mission at Kicked Up is to provide the ultimate functioning training facility that focuses solely on your success, with a diverse team that's highly qualified and dedicated to taking your fitness goals to the next level. Kicked Up also offers a variety of group classes and personal training programs that provide something for everyone, regardless of your fitness level. They believe in working hard, achieving results, all while having fun. So come visit their facility in person, which is located at 114 National Business Parkway, Suite 100 in Annapolis Junction, Maryland, 20701. Now, if you see my friend Sean Queen, who's the owner of Kicked Up, tell him that Benny Chow of Miscalculated sent you, and he'll hook you up with a complimentary 7-day pass just to try it out. Need more info? Give him a call. 410-888-9066. Email them at kufitnessnbp@gmail.com or visit them at their website at www.kufitnessnbp.com. Kicked Up Fitness. Never given, only earned.
And now, back to the Kim Hoang Podcast Experience with your host, Kim Hoang.
And we're back, ladies and gentlemen. What is going on? Yes. Ah, man. Well, there's no better time than now to go ahead and take care of what we've been waiting for. But before we get into that, I'm going to read our usual disclaimer that the Kim Hoang Podcast Experience is asking for help on a voluntary basis. To anyone out there that would like to assist us in our podcast show by the ways of sponsorship and or financially donating to the podcast show to help make the quality of our podcast better. All proceeds that we raise will go towards getting more equipment, and better equipment, I might add, for things that we need, such as microphones for our in-studio guests, the XLR cables that are for those microphones, new headphones for our in-studio guests, maybe a MacBook Pro so we can have a more up-to-date computer with a more up-to-date GarageBand program that we would like to use for our, podcast, so we can make great edits and make it the best quality that we can. And it would be appreciated if that can happen, because like I've always said, this is not only my podcast, but it's your podcast. And when it's your podcast, you want to make sure that everything that we have is good for you and the quality that we give you is 100%, but we can't do it alone. So we ask on a voluntary basis, whatever that you can donate to help us out would be incredible. So, insert joke. If you wanted to donate $5 million, which I don't think anybody would want to do that, but you never know, that would be appreciated. Even if you wanted to donate as minimal as like $5 or even $1, every little bit helps, and we would appreciate your assistance. Like I said, it's voluntary, so you can donate like maybe once and make it a one-time thing. You can donate every month. You can donate every 2 times every month, maybe 3 times every month, 4 times every month. It doesn't matter. And you can make the donation to the following. You can either go over to the ways of PayPal, Venmo, and CashApp. Now, if you decide to go through PayPal and Venmo, just find me under the tag name KimHoangMDActor. That's once again at KimHoangMDActor. And on CashApp, where the tag name is $KimHoangMDActor. Once again, $KimHoangMDActor. Now, that is, after that, there's only one more thing to do. And that is, ladies and gentlemen, we are now ready to do the world famous Q&A forum. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very excited about this one. 7 questions coming from you guys, the audience, you guys, the subscribers and the loyal listeners. You ask those questions and I will answer it. I will do the best that I can. I got 7 of them right here, right now. And It's incredible. We got some good stuff. Let me go ahead and get it on with the get on. So let's go ahead and do it. All right. Question number 1. Kim, there are people laughing at me and giving me grief for still wearing my N95 mask because of the state of the world and it still being like a pandemic. What are your opinions about that? Kat from Kaysville, Utah. Kat, number 1, I want to say that I'm really sorry that that's happening. I don't think that it's fair that people are giving you grief because you have chose to do something to help your longevity and your health the way that you know how. And I don't think that there's anything wrong with somebody trying to do good to prolong their health. You know, as far as I know right now, I know that there's still some people wearing their masks because of the pandemic, and that's their right to do so. But even let's say if it was not a pandemic, in Japan, I've noticed that there are some people that do wear masks out there, even before when this pandemic even happened. And I think that was their way to kind of like make sure that they didn't get sick. And they also wanted to make sure that you didn't get sick if they were sick. Now, you know, whether or not that they were on to something way before the pandemic and COVID happens, that's for another situation in another, episode. But yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I know there's some people out there that are very insensitive, that make a big issue about it. And I say to those people that, guys, you really need to stop that. You know, you really, really need to stop that. You know, there's nothing wrong with protecting yourself and wanting to improve the quality of your life. So if somebody is feeling safer that way in terms of like, you know, hey, I want to wear a mask and I feel a lot better about myself to protect myself so I don't get sick. If you feel that way, you should go ahead and do it, and without anybody giving you any flack. So there you go. Question number 2. Kim, how do you make the decisions on who would be your guest on your podcast show versus someone that does not become your guest? Tracy Robert, a.k.a. TR from Tonopah, Nevada. I never knew that there was a Tonopah, Nevada. All right. You learn something new every day. TR, you know what I mean? I think, honestly, and this is just my opinion, when it comes to what I do on my podcast show, not anybody else, but what I do on my podcast show is that, you know, it's good to interview people, you know, of all talents and all creativity and way of life. And that's the first criteria. But what I mainly look for is somebody with good energy and good character. Someone that I feel like is not going to give me any flack on the show and that can really conduct themselves in a professional manner, and somebody that just doesn't have, most importantly, doesn't have that reputation. You know what I mean? And I feel like, wow, you know, if you are a person that has a good reputation, and if you're somebody that really has good energy, then I would say there's a good chance, I'd say about 99.999% chance that I would say, hey, you're in, for sure. I don't want to interview people with bad energy. I do not want to interview people that have, like, you know, a bad reputation and people are speaking very negative about them, you know, because I don't want to carry that unnecessary drama. I don't want to carry that vibe. And if anybody does have that energy or that vibe, I automatically disqualify them and they won't even get the time of day. So, you know, as long as you're respectful to me and you have that good energy, that positive energy, and it's something that I can definitely work with, and especially if somebody's been singing a lot of your praises, and that by a lot of people singing your praises, then I think that we have a deal. That's just the way that I roll, man. That's the way that I roll. Question number 3. Kim, is it possible to come back into training in the martial arts and even earn a black belt in that martial art? Danny Renee from Montreal, Quebec, Canada. Oh la la. Well, to answer it in Francais, oui, absolument. Or in English, yes, absolutely. Absolutely. You can always come back in training in the martial arts, and if you are in the right mindset, can even earn a black belt, but you have to stay dedicated and disciplined. There is a difference between those that, basically talk the talk and those that walk the walk. I've known a lot of people that came under the same karate school, the same taekwondo school as I did. And, we were coming up in the ranks, and unfortunately, they never made it, but I did. And then when I see them now as an adult, they're like, oh, I'm going to come back. I'm going to go ahead and earn my black belt. Which initially I'm like, okay, cool. That's awesome. You're saying these things. And then 3 years later, it just, it doesn't happen. Whether they claim, my job's not letting me do this, or blah, 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 and so forth. And at that point, I feel like, that's just a waste. But if you really are somebody that stopped training for a while and you want to come back, I commend you for that. And I think that at that point, depending on your mindset and the way that you approach it, your chances of earning a black belt in that martial art is very good. Just keep the positivity, keep on that path, and just know that, if you keep working hard, and if you keep training, if you don't stop, and you surround yourself with positive people, then you'll get there in no time. And if this is something that happened to you, I wish you the best of luck, because I think that everybody has that potential to earn a black belt. And I think that, you can earn the black belt. It's just all about putting the time in and just, having the right frame of thought, that right way of thinking, and then implementing it to, get the job done. Question number 4. Kim, are there any past guests on your podcast that surprised you? Raul from San Juan, Puerto Rico. Yes. You know what I mean? One was our recent guest last season in Daryl Vidal. And, I always thought, man, when you're a celebrity, and this is a stereotype, and I'm not saying that, this was him, but I always have a thing where a stereotype where, like, if you were a big time celebrity, or even somebody that acted in a very iconic movie from way back of a generation, in this case, he was an actor in The Karate Kid Part 1, circa 1984. That was a very iconic movie of its time, even still to this day. And my only hope was that, maybe, he won't have, like that Hollywood, attitude, personality, and so forth, because I didn't really know who he was. And I was just hoping for the best. And come to find out, when I interviewed him, and just the way that, he was, totally changed the perception. because he was such a real nice guy, a very giving guy. He was a sweet person indeed. And I have so much love and respect for him, not only for the fact that, who he is and what he's done, but just, how nice and approachable person that he is. And I remember him saying that, because we've had this experience and you interviewed me, I consider you a friend. And I hope that you will consider me as a friend. And I'm just like, wow, that's a huge honor. That's a huge honor. I love that. And yeah, to Mr. Vidal, I want to say thank you. That was awesome. The second group of people that surprised me was an interview that happened even before that one, where I was actually interviewing two actors that were going to be and are going to be in the new Uncalculated film, in Krista Hansen and Brian Pacheco. I was just so shocked at how very they just seem to have a very good, funny, comic personality. They were being very loose, and they were trying to laugh and have a good time and so forth. And I was like, okay, cool. I was thinking that they might be actors and they were trying to talk a little bit serious about stuff and how they feel and everything. And they definitely did, for sure. But they did it in their own way, and they were being a little bit more comedic, and they were definitely feeling like, if we laugh a little bit and we just, throw a little comedy in here, it just shows that, we're people that also can have a good time and do our thing. And that was cool. That was really cool. And I think those are the only examples that I have when it comes to, me being surprised, in terms of how my guests were. So yeah, that was definitely cool. Question number 5. This one's an emotional one. Kim, my family thinks that I'm a failure because in their opinion, if you're not a doctor, you're not a lawyer, you're not an engineer, you're not in computer science, or any form of science where you're a scientist or a mathematician, then you're a failure. All because I chose education as my life path and I wanted to teach kids. Any advice or thoughts? Tao from San Jose, California. First off, I noticed the fact that Tao's name is spelled T-H-A-O. And I know that name because that's a name from the Vietnamese culture. And Tao, I have to say this, I understand it. I get that. I think that it is, unfortunately, a stereotype to, the Vietnamese culture, I think, a little bit. And it's really sad. It's really sad. The way that I see it is this. I think it's incredible that you are a teacher. And I think it's awesome that you are a teacher, because you're basically guiding the next generation of young men and women to become amazing adults, and guiding them in the way of, this is where you need to be in the next, phase of your life. And I'm going to give you that, little guide. I'm going to show you the way. And that's all there is to it. And they say that, which is true, with education, we need to have more educators in the education world. You know what I mean? Because it just starts from that goal, from that step to be the person that changes their life and does something with it. To me, I think that's incredible. Just incredible. And I don't think you have to be just a, engineer or a doctor or a lawyer or, somebody in computer science or, or whatever to be successful. And whoever is doing that, I think that's wrong and that's ridiculous. People need to stop, in general, people need to stop, with these false claims, and these false measures of success. I don't know where you got this idea of measuring success in that way. I don't know, what your measuring stick is, but it's definitely toxic. I mean, let's say, for example, if you're a person that owns a business in dog grooming and does very well, are they failures? I don't think so. So, I would say, Tal, keep doing what you're doing. Don't listen to those that try to drag you down and try to show you a lot of negativity in that way. I don't think that's fair that you're receiving such backlash. And you don't deserve that, to be honest with you. You really don't deserve that. And the fact that you are getting that is a shame. It's a damn shame. So the only thing I can say is keep your head up. Know that we love you and we'll support you. Even though that, your family and maybe a couple of friends think not. And to Tal's family, I just say, you know what? I just challenge you to, love her more and support her more. That's all I'm going to say. All right. Question number 6. Kim, what are your thoughts about doing the ice baths and the cold plunges? What advice can you give to prepare for such an activity? Levante from Peoria, Illinois. Oh, God. Levante, I really do like the ideas of ice baths and cold plunges. I think it's incredible because it's been shown a lot of great properties in the form of healing. It's good for muscle soreness. It's good to take ice baths if you're trying to, get your circulation all over your body, if you want to promote that. It's also good to kind of it helps out with releasing bad energies in the mental health game, So I see a lot of, positive reviews about it, because if you have professional sports athletes from a lot of professional sports organizations like the NFL and the NBA, the MLB, the UFC, and all of them do these ice baths and they sing their praises, then there's got to be something of a common answer. Like, is this good? And they all say yes. There's got to be something truthful to that. You know what I mean? So I'm all about that. As far as preparation goes, I honestly think that there's not really much that you can do. Maybe you can take cold showers to kind of simulate what it would be like to be in a cold environment. And then when you feel good and ready enough, just go into an ice bath and do what you do. Start with maybe something like a minute, just so that you can get through it. And then once you're done, then increase the time. They usually say when you get through the first minute, and let's say you're in minute 2 or minute 3, you're good. So as long as you reach that 2-minute mark, then it's you're starting to get used to it, but it takes a little time. So if that's what you're trying to do, man, I just say good luck to you. And I think that if that's the challenge you take, just be safe. That's all. And if all worse comes to worse, if it doesn't work out for you and you're just ooh, no, then yeah, just back out, abort mission and try again a little bit later when you feel ready. All right, we saved the best one for last, which is question number 7. Kim, what's your opinions on Planet Fitness? Is it a good spot or a bad spot to work out at? Henrietta from Arlington, Virginia. All right, nearby. Henrietta, I don't see anything wrong with Planet Fitness in terms of like a place to work out at. You know what I mean? I don't. To me, it's a place where you work out. You're there to have fun. You're there to work out and to work everything out physically to kind of improve the durability of your body and helping improve the quality of your body and your health. Yes, it does not have, there are some things in Planet Fitness that they don't have that other gyms have. That is absolutely 100% correct. They may have some weird guidelines and behavior and so forth. I get it. But you do get what you get. You do get what you invest in. And I think for just, let's say, for a lack of a better term, like a beginner level gym, it's pretty good. They have a great morale. There's no gym intimidation. Everybody's there to have fun and work out. There's no judgment there. They all have this mantra of just like, wanting to work out, to be your very best. And I respect that. Plus the fact that if you're a black member, having that extra bonus of having access to the wellness room is incredible. And the fact that they have a lot of locations all over in the United States, at least, where most of them are open 24 hours a day, which is incredible. Absolutely incredible. And I feel like anybody that, let's say if you're a person that's on a budget and you want to work out at Planet Fitness, there are plenty of things that you can do and plenty of exercises to utilize said workout machines. You know what I mean? It's just how you do it and how you implement it. So I don't think there's any shame to the game of, working out at Planet Fitness. It's not a bad spot. Anybody who sings the bad praises of it, well, that's their preference. That's probably a thing where they find out that it's not for them, and that's fair. We gotta, not everybody's going to like the same thing. Maybe there's somebody that likes Gold's Gym or LA Fitness more or something else, and that's fine. But if you're just trying to get it done, and just get the blood flowing, there's nothing wrong with, Planet Fitness. I have no objections. I have none. So, and that's it, ladies and gentlemen. That is all that she wrote, and that was it. That was fun. And, it's great to actually make a brand new episode of a brand new season. So how about that? Going forward, though, like I said, I hope that this season and this new year is going to be a very good one for us. There's so many hopes and dreams that I have, and I hope to achieve it all. So let's go ahead and start the closing segments of our show, which is you can find us on a lot of social media pages. Obviously, we're on Facebook. Just go over to the search box and type in the Kim Hoang Podcast Experience. Follow us. We definitely would appreciate that. We're also on Instagram and Twitter, now known as X, and you can find us under our tag name, TKHPC Experience, all in one word, lowercase letters. If you follow us, we will follow you back. Podcasting platforms, we are on plenty, like Spotify, Apple Podcast. We are on Amazon Music, YouTube Music, and Audible, which is a podcasting platform and an audiobook platform powered by Amazon. And, if you want to try a free trial membership for about 7 days, go to audible.com and go ahead and fill out that information. And if you like it, you can keep it, and you can become a permanent member at $15 a month, which is a good value because you get 2 services for the price of 1. So it's not bad. However, if you don't want to be a member and you just want to quit afterwards, you can go ahead and cancel your membership, and there will be no financial obligations or losses there. So just make sure that if you start on a Monday, that you end on a Sunday, so that you don't get charged for just, trying out the situation. So please like our podcast and subscribe to it on all of the podcasting platforms as mentioned. Do us a favor that if you do have Spotify, give us a 5-star review. If you have Apple Podcasts, please give us that 5 stars and a positive written review, because the more times that you do that, then the more times that our podcast is going to be in the front of the lines, and it'll get some notice. And then somebody could be like, oh, it's the Kim Hoang Podcast Experience that Mario was talking about. I should probably follow it. I should probably like it and subscribe to it. Yes, like the podcast. Subscribe to it on all of its podcasting platforms, and also do you one better. Spread the word about it, Share it with your friends and your family and, your coworkers in person if you can. But, always promote it on social media like your Facebook, your Instagram, your Twitter, now known as X, Snapchat, and or TikTok. You know what I mean? Because in this business, in this industry, when you do that, you're actually doing a little bit of promoting our product. You're doing something that's really good, because sharing is caring. So it's very important to go ahead and help promote our business in our podcast show. You know what I mean? So, yeah. So, that's it. That's all that I got. You know what I mean? So, I really appreciate that. We're going to continue on doing great things this season, this year. I'm looking forward to it. Just please be safe out there, guys. Be safe out there. Do the right things in life. Don't do anything that's wrong and illegal or something that's going to get you in trouble, because if you do that, there's a good chance that you might land in a pine box and get buried 6 feet under. And we don't want that to happen, because we love you for who you are. You deserve to live life and to love life and have life treat you in the best way, because that's what we believe in. You know what I mean? You deserve that. Anybody else that tells you otherwise, you can tell them to go kick rocks and go the other direction. You know what I mean? So, yeah, that's all I have to say. It's been a good time, guys. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much for all this time of being somebody that's loving our podcast and supporting it and sharing it with your friends. It's just a great thing. And as long as you still want me to keep doing this, I will keep doing this until the wheels fall off. You know what I mean? And I got nothing left. So, that being said, for the one time, coming all the way from Wheaton, Maryland, over at the Prototype Studio, it is your boy Kim Hoang, the Asian sensation, here at the Kim Hoang Podcast Experience, saying thank you so much for all your love and support. We really appreciate that. We love you for that, and we will talk to you again real soon on another episode of the Kim Hoang Podcast Experience. Y'all have a good one. Take care, be safe, and be easy. We're out of here, y'all. Peace.